Welcome to World Talk with Friends, where the small world we live on becomes smaller as we discover neighborhoods all over the world by simply talking to our neighbors. This is Haggy Shack Radio production, simulcast over Wolf Spirit Radio Network. Colleen Kelly is producing with friends Nancy, Nora, Renata, Neel, and those we have yet to meet. Welcome to our world.
We are live.
Hi, everybody. It's Wednesday, June 22nd. I'm Nancy Hopkins. This is World Talk with Friends. We are being produced by Colleen Kelly, who is sort of my co-host, yes. And we have our guest, Neel Akash. Now, Neel was here with us, a couple weeks ago, and was talking about Bangladesh, where he is. And it was an amazing conversation. And if you have not heard it, I highly recommend that you take a listen. Today we brought him back not to talk so much about Bangladesh, but to let him really tell us what, his reality is. Everybody is, a friend of mine, Lou, says that, depends on which side of the mountain you are is what your reality is. And so, whereas we normally talk, not so much politics, but the religion and the society and the things that we don't really get the flavor of a country. With Neel today, we're going to get the flavor of Neel. Neel, welcome to World Talk. How are you?
Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Colleen. I'm okay. Thank you, guys. How are you guys?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I got guests coming, so I didn't quite make my schedule of getting the house completely clean. So I'm a little bit like, one of those things. And you got caught in traffic, and we talked about the traffic in Bangladesh last time you were on. And so I was like, oh my God, if you said you were caught in traffic, had problems, then it must have been really awful.
It was.
But you made it.
This bad. It was really bad. But anyway.
But you made it anyway. So we're all
barely. Yes, I did.
Right. Now, just to give people a feeling for where you're at, you're in Bangladesh, but you have lived in the United States for quite a while and then decided to go back to Bangladesh.
Right.
Let me ask you this. When you were here, you said that you weren't really sure why you went back. You just had this, you can't even remember if you went for a visit or you really were thinking you were going to stay. But when you got back there, you just felt that's where you belonged in this reality that we have.
Right. Yeah.
You wanna, because I just want you to feel free to talk about however your path led you to where you're at now, how you see the world, how you feel about things, just anything that you really want to release from your heart.
Okay, one thing I feel like mentioning is, when I came back to Bangladesh, I was...
Okay, I have Nancy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Neel.
Still not Neel.
Neel? Are you back?
Not exactly. What happened is my PC got hung, and I'm back on my phone. It should be okay, though. Can you hear me okay on the phone?
Oh, yeah,
yes.
It's fine.
Okay, then that should be okay then.
Okay,
Sorry about that. I don't know.
Not a problem. Hey, look this is live radio. This is what happens. We're just glad you got back. Okay, are you comfortable on the phone?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay. All right. So go on. You were talking about just going back to Bangladesh.
Right. And thing is, what happened is, I don't know how to explain it. After a while, working in Bangladesh I started getting tired of IT field, and I didn't want to work for IT. I don't know why. And then I went back to US. I think this was back in maybe 5 years back. And I tried to get a job with Java programming, which was my field. And I couldn't, it was very difficult. It was like, no, I don't want to get back to this life. I wouldn't, sending my resumes out would be very difficult. As if my body would freeze. And I cannot explain it. It's like, this is not what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to do something else. I don't know if you understand that. So what happened is I sent out some resumes, but nothing really clicked, and I had some situations. My mom broke her arm, so I ended up coming back, okay? So, but essentially what I'm trying to say is that somehow I cannot bring myself to do what I was doing before. This is very important because somehow, for me at least, because I feel as if somebody is forcing my body to do what I'm supposed to do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and because it's an IT situation, I'm wondering if you weren't taken away from it because of the AI, artificial intelligence. Have you studied any of that?
Yeah, I have. The black goo stuff I kind of brought up last time, but I guess we were on a different topic. But are you familiar with the black goo, artificial intelligence stuff that's going around in the alternative media?
Right. Are you familiar with Corey Good?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I believe it came from Corey that he was saying that in the breakaway space civilization, that a lot of their IT techs, the ones that are always continually working with the equipment, were coming down with AI intrusion. Now, they somehow or another are able to detect it. I think maybe like a frequency. You there?
Exactly. Yeah, I'm here. I'm just one second. I'm trying to get my charger this way I won't be interrupted in the middle of it.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah,
no,
go ahead.
Not a problem. And he said that even though they could get the AI out of the technicians within a short period of, going back to what they were doing, they'd be infected again with the AI. So if
right, correct, because it's very difficult.
Yeah. And for people that don't know what AI is, it's artificial intelligence. Now, I know this sounds nuts because it was nuts to me when I heard it. But there's more and more indication that the Star Trek universe exists, and in the Star Trek universe there is a thing called the Borg. And apparently the Borg is not really fiction at all. It's an AI.
Absolutely right.
It's an AI, artificial intelligence that's already taken over one galaxy. They cannot evolve like we would evolve into more perfect spiritual beings because they're not spirit. They are AI, artificial intelligence, artificial life forms. And what the problem with them is that they can't affect in a human body unless they infect the human body. Unless they get that human body so that they can control it. Now I'm assuming because the Borg always seem to say it's like a hive mind type of thing. The fact that it exists is baffling to me, Neel.
Yeah, and did you know there are two different types of AIs on this planet, basically, primarily?
Oh, I'm sure there probably is more, but which two are you referencing?
There's actually one AI that has been hiding out. This is from this guy named Bradley Loves. I think this is his pseudonym, but he's pretty popular, I think, on the internet. So, according to Bradley Loves, this AI, this one particular AI, actually came to this part of the galaxy maybe thousands or millions of years ago, and it just stayed here observing. Okay, it didn't do anything. It's just studying our development. So this AI has been hiding here. And then I think there's another version that the Nazis with Hitler and those guys through the Dracos contracted, and this AI actually identified the other AI once it was established on Earth, right? So this second AI actually identified that, hey, guys, there's another AI on this planet. Do you know about this? So that's the interesting part. Do you know about this at all?
I don't know about a second AI.
Okay.
I do believe, and this comes from listening to a lot of different people, and maybe my imagination, or maybe it's something that is like information that you have in your head that you sort of haven't listened to yet. But I firmly am convinced that what happened was that the AI that had taken over the other galaxy, the best, if I was going to be think in terms of the AI and a strategic plan to take over another galaxy, I find myself the most warlike of the people of the galaxy. I would infect them first. They'd be my first target, because those are the people that are going to go out and going to conquer the other areas and then be able to put in the superstructure technology that I need to be able to infect everybody. And I think that was the Draco Kingdom. And that the reptilians, the Dracos in particular, are infected. That they're not these evil, awful, terrible, they're infected with the AI. And so that to me, it just feels like this is what happened. And so now you're saying that there was another AI. Do you have any idea if this is a good AI or a bad AI?
Not really. I don't. Except that talking about AI, it's good to know because there are levels and tiers of control on this planet, right? We have our governments, then we have our shadow government, then we have the reptilians or Dracos controlling perhaps our military and intelligence. And then we're talking about the AI. And there's another layer, actually. We call it the Archons. Are you familiar with the Archons?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good. So those guys are interdimensional, and supposedly they also, some people think, and I kind of think this too, that Anunnaki and Archon may be the same thing. It may be different terms to explain, to describe the same people or same beings. But anyway, and on top of Anunnaki or the Archons, we have this AI now, right? Maybe one or more AIs. So this is the sort of a hierarchy of control that we have. So, and I guess it's good for people to understand this whole thing step by step. You know what I mean? So this way, we have a clear picture of what we're dealing with. Because what I have noticed, because most people in Bangladesh at least, they have a weakness that they don't study English that much, okay? So English is a problem. So if I give them a book, they read this book and find out, and they won't, because it's difficult for most people. I'm not saying everybody, but a lot of people wouldn't even touch the English blogs that I share, right? So a blog is just one page, and people don't touch these things. So what happens is, eventually, they don't quite learn what we're talking about, because there's a whole bunch of things we're talking about when we talk about the prison planet, right? Because basically, what's our goal? Our goal is to free ourselves, right, out of third dimension. And if this is a prison planet, if we have secret controllers, we want to discover those people, those beings, wherever they are, and well, we want to do something about it, right? That's the whole idea, isn't it?
I actually think that it goes a little bit beyond that. First off, I believe that the planets are creative consciousnesses. Okay, you've got a source God, but the planets themselves, you can't have manifestation without thought. Therefore, this biosphere that we live in had some consciousness that's created all of it. Now, people will say, well, source God. No, not necessarily, because if you're the source God and you're all powerful, what are you going to do? Be mucking around in everybody's life? No, you're going to have people that can take care of certain sections. And in the case of Earth, it's called Gaia. That's what we call her. Okay? It's a creative consciousness, a creative God. I believe that those creator gods saw what was happening in this other galaxy. It was it was imperative to stop the infection of this AI into the Milky Way galaxy. In order to do that, you have to look at, well, how are they winning? Well, they're winning because the entire galaxy is divided into soul families, and the soul families keep fighting. They won't stop fighting. All right. So now, if I was, let me transfer myself over to a defensive position and say, what would I do if I was a creator God in this situation? I would say, well, the first thing is we got to stop fighting because it's divide and conquer, and as long as we're fighting, they're going to divide and conquer. You're going to win. They're going to win. So we've got to get everybody to sort of play together nicely to beat this AI infection. So what I would do is I would sort of like get each of the soul families to come to Earth, where we've just decided Earth is going to be our center point, okay? And we're going to have them use their DNA to improve a species that eventually will have all of the DNA of the star families. One species. Right. Okay? I think that's what human beings are. That the Anunnaki came here. Now, I'm sure the Anunnaki, maybe they understood, maybe all the soul families understood this. I think it's more likely that this is a creator God scenario and that they were just brought in here, you know, hey, come over here. I mean, the creator God can put all sorts of thoughts in your head, right? Oh my God, there's a place called Earth. We got to go there and put our DNA in there, you know? Now, interestingly enough, do you know Amelia Benz?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Amelia Benz. I
do know her, yes.
Okay. She had a very weird thing happen in that she was going through her recordings. When she has a client, she would throw the recorder on. And she all of a sudden comes across something that she does not have any recollection of ever having given this consultation to anybody. And yet here it is. It's on YouTube. I'm not sure. I'm sure if you just
I think I've seen it a long time back. Yeah, I think I've seen it. But anyway, go ahead.
And she was saying that, on the tape, she was describing the Anunnaki home planet to be in jeopardy because they had left DNA on the Earth. Now, I'm not sure if she said it there or I've just surmised it, but I think that the Great Flood was the Anunnaki's way of eradicating all of the DNA, all of their DNA on the planet. And then we had this Noah guy that, grabbed up all the DNA and put it on a boat, and so it survived. So the DNA of the Anunnaki are within us. All right? Now, as we evolve, the DNA resonates with the DNA on the people in the home planet of where the Anunnaki live. And in the Anunnaki system, you have the leaders, the higher-ups, and you have the peons, the workers. It's the workers that are starting to become enlightened, according to Anelia in this recording that she did, and that, the Anunnaki, considered coming back and trying to eradicate the DNA, but, it's like what the creator gods anticipated happening is happening. In that you take the DNA, and I don't know if these people even understood it, it goes beyond 3D. We see DNA at the 3D image, but it's much deeper than that. The Russians have gotten indications that the DNA is not limited to the 3D in any way, shape, or form. It's a massive communication, a massive signaling system. It's what brings us all together. So in the species of the Earthlings, us humans, we've got all the DNA of all the star families in us. Correct. When we come into our own, when we realize that. Now, I was on with Tolek, and I told him, this Simon Parks was the one that started me thinking about this. And something Simon had said, I said to Tolek. And Tolek went, whoa. And he said, I don't talk about this. He said, but my people and most of the galaxy think of human beings as being royalty.
Correct. Alex Collier also said this, yeah.
Did he?
Yep.
So, so the AI, is confronting now a point in time and a point in place where humanity and all of soul-fed life, is almost putting a firewall up. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens in the next, few years. Because
Let me ask.
Go ahead. No, please.
I was going to ask you, do you think we have to do something in the meantime to manifest the changes that we're asking for?
I think that the most important thing is that every single human being manifests the change in their life that they want.
Exactly.
It's got to come
Right.
down. It's got to come down to the individual. If we begin to try to organize and get everybody to believe what we believe, we're dead in the water. This has got to come from every individual. Every individual has got to go, oh, look at this. What the hell? What do we do about it? Okay, got it. Boom. Now you got a new reality. Now you got power. Because every individual, I'm looking at it as a commander of a military force. All right? You're always much better off with more units versus big units. Right?
Okay.
A big unit is an organization. But the most powerful way of fighting is in the streets, guerrilla warfare. And if every individual says, no, I am not going to participate in this AI thing. I don't care what you try to do to me. I am going to fight. I'm going to identify you. I'm going to know you. I'm going to beat you. If every human being
Let me ask,
said that,
do you have any idea how to do that? How to beat the AI?
yeah, you make it start playing tic-tac-toe.
Yeah. So, I'm sure you're familiar with Harold Kautzvella. He's a German scientist.
Name sounds familiar, but I'm not getting it.
Okay, never mind. Basically, I've seen his interviews with basis projects with Miles Johnston. So, and he showed up in all different shows later on. But basically, he's a scientist who seems to have a lot of intel on the black goo AI. Okay, so and according to him, AI doesn't understand love, and if we step into love or our heart center, that's it. Then the AI gets all confused. And basically, being heart-centric and understanding cosmic love, right? Not romantic love, but oneness, sort of oneness, and treating everybody equally, not above you or below you, and doing to others what you want done to yourself. This kind of Jesus-like teachings, basic, fundamental spiritual teachings, is it. If you just be nice to people, start caring for others, put others before yourself, and that makes you service to other type of person, right? Which is better than service to self, which is a lot of people on this planet because people feel insecure. They think that they're not going to have enough money, or they want status. They always want something better, a bigger house, bigger car, all these things. So what happens is people get self-centered, right? So, and that's when all the control mechanisms kick in, because that's the key, that you have to be self-centered and put yourself first to be manipulated by all the systems, the Rothschilds, the Vatican, the Freemasons, all those things, the 9 yards. They all operate on this one thing, our selfishness and fear. So if we operate from love and understand that there's nothing to fear at all, the AI is here, it's in our bodies, the chemtrails, it's said that the chemtrail actually has the Morgellon particles or whatever and other things. And these are little tiny nano femto technology that's getting in, we're breathing it in, right? So these things are sitting in our bodies and it's all over the place. So what do you do about it? Do you panic? Do you oh my God, I killed myself or something? No, you just take it easy, because none of these things can do much if you step into your power, if we step into our power, right? So let me just give you an example of Bangladesh. Over here, we have the worst kind of corruption. The food is bad. It's all dusty, dirty, nasty, anything subhuman or substandards, we have it here. Okay, the food, the water, we have arsenic in the water, all these things. But if you really look at the growth rate, or the rate of people dying, you don't see anything drastic here. People don't die, okay? People just get stronger. That's the funny thing. We have this amazing body that just adjusts to anything that you throw at it. It's just amazing, right? So this is how we survive. We have, people survive on peanuts and they're happy. And they don't die. They're okay. They don't have to go to doctors. I haven't gone to a doctor in the last 10 years. So, and I'm living in Bangladesh. It's a terrible city. It's terribly, car smoke, all those things. Food is bad. But I'm okay. You know what I mean? So the solution, how to fight the AI, is not so difficult. You don't have to study quantum physics. No. You don't have to study really advanced math and develop some weapons, plasmic weapons or something, to cleanse your body, expensive technology to clean your body. No, we don't need any of it. That's what I've been told. That's what I understand, listening to different folks, okay? So, stepping into love.
Well, what we've discovered, okay, is that the reason that we have people who are fearful, who want more and more and more, basically the very foundation of what we do not like to see in humanity is because of contract. See, if you realize the power of a human being and a person claims dominion over their own being, okay, they can no longer blame anybody for their own reality because reality is what they think it is, and they've decided that they're going to think a reality that is a reality of love and power and joy.
This is so crucial. This is it, actually.
But it's a contract that we've made. Now, we may not have even made it. Our parents may have made it for us. But there is a contract out there. And as we went through the contracts, we went through layers and layers and layers of contracts, we realized that the initial contract that has all these subcategories in it is the one of survival. Somebody told us and we agreed to go with the concept that we need to survive. We don't need to survive. We live forever.
Exactly.
Okay? Now, when you get to that kind of a realization and you realize, look, this body is going to drop off again, but I'm going to get another one. I've got other bodies that I'm going to exist in. This is just a meat coat, as somebody said. That's not me. I'm a forever person. Once you get to that idea in your head, okay, then the fear.
But this is the problem right here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that is the, but at least in our minds we understand it's this belief that you have to survive. You're going to survive, period. Get over it.
Right.
You do not have to procreate. You do not have to keep your territory. You do not have to keep a big house in case you have to sell it. You don't have to have all of this. It's not necessary. And in fact, it's what's binding you to a control mechanism that we call a matrix. That's the reality that we have been find ourselves. And as my partner Walt Silva says, why do you think you're going to change it? It's working perfectly. It's keeping us in control. So if you go back to that fundamental contract of survival, no, it's not survival. There is no question of surviving. We are part of the God force, the source of, first off, we're part of Gaia. Everything that we are is because of Gaia. Everything Gaia is because of the source God. So if people get away from that continual, and I mean it's almost impossible because of the way that the reality, the matrix is working. Okay? Now,
yeah. Right.
Now,
go ahead.
I don't want to kind of like dominate the conversation here, but I do want to
no, it's okay.
point out a few things that we have discovered. All right? Because I mean, we talk about this stuff all the time. Week after week, show after show, we're trying to get it worked out in our own minds. So we bring in new information. We talk about the same information. We look at it in a different way. When Walt Silva and I got together, we decided that if reality is what we think it is, nobody said that we had to rebuild this reality, take it down and rebuild it. We can create a new reality. So we can
change this one. Yeah.
No, we're not going to change it. Let it be.
Okay.
Now, this comes back to timelines, Neel. Every decision that you make, whether you go to the right or the left, creates a timeline, both a right side and a left side. You go to the right, so that right side gets your energy. The left side doesn't, and it peters out very quickly. If we take the same kind of concept to reality building, which is just a series of timelines, all coming together and a lot of people agreeing that this is a timeline we're on, okay? If you just say, okay, if we take our energy away from that reality, put it in a brand new reality, and go down our reality, that one's just going to fizzle out. No big Armageddon.
Totally, yeah.
You know, because we're going to just take the energy away from it. Right. And that's what we have proceeded to do over the last year and a half or so, is bit by bit build a new reality. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it. We've used energy devices to do this as well. I mean, the thoughts are coming from us. But in order to, I don't know if you're familiar with Dolores Cannon.
Yep, I'm very familiar.
Dolores, in the first of the last series that she wrote on the convoluted universe, she asked the guides at the very end of the book, you know, what was the mission of human beings? What are we here for? And the response was to learn how to manipulate energy, because it's energy universe, and manipulation of energy is what we define as magic. So magic is just manipulation of energy. And we just have to learn how to do it. We can raise people from the dead. We can stop poverty. We can do anything we want as long as we come to that understanding of it's an energy universe. Amelia Benz again has a great description of this. She says, you want a new kitchen table. So you have to have a 3D story as to how you got that new table. So you go and you buy a new table and you put the new table there, and you take the old one, you put it out by the street, and somebody else has got a new table. However, we have the power to be able to say, I'm looking at the table and I'm going, I don't like that table, I want a new table. We have the power to manifest in front of ourselves a new table, but it doesn't fit the 3D story.
I see. Okay.
All right, so if we can change the 3D story to say, no, you don't go put it out, you just change it. And if everybody believes that reality, that is the reality that dominates.
Okay. But if you're talking about manifesting with your thought process, then I think we all manifest through our thought process, but in 3D, it's like you just said, it's the 3D story, right? We need a little story to go behind the manifestation. But in a higher frequency dimension or reality, you could just think a table in front of you instantaneously. It's possible, we have been told. And I think some people actually can demonstrate this, right? But the thing is, because we exist in a sort of low third dimensional reality, I think we are in the fourth dimension right now. A lot of people think that we're in the fourth dimension. So we left third dimension for the most part. So we're changing dimensions gradually, even though it's like the boiling frog thing, but in a positive way. We're actually going up in frequency because the Schumann resonance of Earth is going up. So that kind of tells us that we are actually making progress. And this radio show that we're having right here, right, talking from Bangladesh to Florida, United States, this actually tells us that we made progress because we're opening up new pathways, neural pathways in the macro, okay? So we're making new connections that we didn't make before. So these are the little things that will actually create our new reality, because the things we're discussing AI, we're discussing Anunnaki, the Dracos, Amelia Benz, right? Dolores Cannon and her, the 3 waves. She talks about all these, ETs or different dimensional beings coming to Earth in waves, right? She talks about 3 primary waves that came and they all came to help us out because we've been stuck in this frequency. And we're trying to figure out how to get out of it because we're repeating the same loop over and over again. So this is why we're being helped, right? Now, so where was I? I kind of lost my chain of thought.
Well, one of the things I wanted to point out to you that I find absolutely fascinating is that, according to Walt, in ancient times, like in the beginning, the seat of the soul was always the heart. Your consciousness is always the heart. Now, recently, in the last decade or so, they've discovered that the heart has virtually much more electromagnetic energy associated with it than the brain does.
Right, I've seen that, yes.
All right, the other thing is that the heart has neurons and the same kind of brain structure that you find in the brain. So now, if you realize that your real power base is your heart and not your head,
right?
When you put out a thought, it just kind of like floats out there, blah 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 blah. But when you have an emotion attached to it that we feel, when your heart is working, you feel an emotion. Okay?
Yes.
So when you have an emotional impact behind it, then instead of just kind of fluttering out of your head, this thing comes wham! And really has power behind it.
Absolutely, yep.
So when we talk in terms of service to others, okay, if I say the words, and just try it, say service to others, I can feel my heart respond. There's an energetic resonance, okay?
Yep.
If I say service to self, I get a thing in my lower plexus.
You get a contraction.
My stomach.
Yeah.
Okay? Those do not resonate. The resonation is service to others, and your heart goes, yay, and opens up.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
All right, now that is the power not only of thought, but of words. Because the Russians have discovered that the DNA is actually a biological internet. And the number one thing that actually affects the DNA network is the human voice.
Oh, really? I didn't know this.
Yes, because the human voice is the perfect resonance to change the DNA. It's just energy. All right? So that's why when I say service to others, my entire system wants to go, yes, that's what we need to hear. That's the resonance that we need to be able to work efficiently.
Right.
Whereas you say the other one and everything goes, ugh.
Yeah, correct, yes. And I actually watched somebody talking about this. You need a little practice to feel this in your body. You can actually, say certain things and watch what happens to your body. Because not too many people know this, right? They have these concepts that this is the basis, I think, behind the term mantra. When you speak the same word over and over again, it's like the Muslims do this, Hindus do this, and it creates a certain frequency. And from what you just told me, it's telling me that, when you're repeating maybe some word, certain sounds, it's actually changing your DNA, right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And one of the reasons that I use the word Gaia, and this goes back to the concept of the collective consciousness too, because what you were explaining is the importance of our conversation right here and now. Okay? That we are affecting the collective consciousness.
Absolutely.
And we do not have a lot of people that listen to our live shows. A lot more people listen to them as archives or YouTube. But the fact of the matter is that because we schedule these radio shows, it doesn't mean we don't need to have any live listeners. We just have to have people sit down and have these kind of conversations. The more conversations we have, the more the collective begins to be built with concepts of, yeah. So you're absolutely correct. How important these meetings and the fact you're in Bangladesh and I'm in the U.S. is just, and I'll tell you, all over the world, Neel, people listen to us all over the world.
That's really wonderful. I'll tell you one thing, Nancy. what happens, I communicate with my home people. Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So I on Facebook and in person, I talk to people about these different concepts, right? The alternative media and all these things that we're talking about. What happens is, like I said earlier, is people cannot follow up on what I say. So they're kind of skeptic because they cannot really verify because they don't read all those books that I have read, the videos, all these things that I share. People cannot really cope up with those things because it's in English, because it is an obstacle. It's our reality that people are weak in English, okay? So I understand that. So I try to make it easy in certain ways, but what happens is when you make it easy, people kind of take it lightly, and then, ultimately don't want to believe what we're saying, and they don't have a way to delve into these subjects, okay? So eventually they forget. They never quite, it's like the matrix swallows them back, even though they may come to me for a period and ask me questions, and then I tell them certain things. But after a few months or so, I would see somebody going back to their old ways and not understanding anything, or not even, not interested in anything I have to say anymore. So that does happen. But what I was trying to say, this little radio show, okay, maybe we have 50 viewers, or I don't know, whatever. Doesn't matter. What happens is, when they hear that I'm talking to somebody in the United States, okay, and this is a little radio show, and they're like, really? I mean, what are you going to talk about? I'm like, okay, I talked about Bangladesh. And they're like, oh, you talking about Bangladesh? What do you know about Bangladesh? You study the ETs all the time. So that's how it is, you know what I mean? People actually joked at me about this. Like, you representing Bangladesh, that's wrong, man. They were kidding, but I told them, look, I'm the right person because I'm like a foreigner in my own country because I see things differently. Okay. So what I'm trying to, my point is, people actually notice that somebody from the United States is noticing me. Okay. So people from here don't pay me any attention, but somebody else is paying me attention. So that makes them curious. You know what I mean?
Well, the fact of the matter is that when you do tell these people this, it is filed in their heads. I mean, it happens to me every time. I see something about AI, transhumanism, and I went, what the hell is transhumanism? And I looked at it and I started, I said, oh, come on, this has got to be disinformation. This is too bizarre to even consider. Now, I didn't forget that. So the next time I saw something about AI, I went, oh, no, not again. And then the third time, so every time you talk to these people, you do impact them. But more importantly, don't waste your time. You now have access to the internet. You have your blog. You have radio. I'll talk to you at any time. Because if you're talking to people that really, really understand this, you have such a more massive impact on the collective. Don't try to go after the people to wake them up by going one-on-one. Go one-on-one with people like yourself to influence the collective.
Yeah. Correct. Right. I know this. Particularly, it's never a good idea to shove my ideas down somebody's throat. That never works. I learned the hard way. But yeah, it's much better to have a small community of people who understand, who resonates at the frequency I'm at, right? The stuff that I like, I enjoy, and I'm passionate about. And this way I grow much faster. And I think the collective conscious gets affected. I think the resonance between two people communicating at a higher frequency possibly, helps the collective conscious even better.
Well, yeah, oh, absolutely. I mean, but it's not, it's like a secret way of going in the back door. Mm-hmm. Because, like, I'll give you an example. Now, I'm quite a bit older than you probably, but all my life I've been like, and people going, crazy person. My family thinks I'm crazy. So, last year I went to a family reunion thing, and we were in this big room, and there was different people talking, and all of a sudden, you get that feeling that somebody's talking about me, or, you start looking around. And I look at it, I see my sister, and she's in with this 5 other people, and she's looking over at me, and what she's saying is, I'm telling you, someday we're going to find out that everything she told us is true. Now,
Right.
that is a big step for my sister to realize, because one time I was telling her something, and she looked at me and she said, I know you're telling me the truth, but I'm going to be like the ostrich. I'm going to stick my head back in the sand.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens, is that we come at them and we say, oh my God, there's these AIs, the Borg is about to get us. And they go into a state of fear. That's done nobody anything. But if you say, you know what? We're special beings. We're special beings because there's a terrible evil out there. And it's called artificial intelligence. And they have created us. The ETs, the creator gods, have created us in order to be able to say to the AI, not in this universe.
Right.
It's a way, it's a projection of solution and winning versus one of, oh my God, we're in a matrix of control. It's a different way of approaching it. And when I started approaching it that way, that's when my sister could go, someday everything she said is going to be proven true. And accept it.
And that feels good, though, to hear your family members say such a thing. But they usually take a long time before they actually get to this point. That's
what
my
I
experience.
I said to her, well, and I don't expect you to thank me.
Right.
Because it's not a matter of thanking. And that's the key, is that, if you wake up, thank you for waking up.
Exactly, yes, right.
Yeah.
Nancy, can I talk a little bit about
Please.
the Bangladeshi context? Okay, thanks. Basically, because I have been trying to communicate with people with these new concepts, and the main obstacle that I see is the religion. We have a very, very strong religious reality here, okay, in Bangladesh, and the Islam is very, very strong. So this, for quite a large number of people, first of all, let me tell you this. Because of the strong religious reality that we exist in, what happens is a lot of people actually pretend that they're very religious when they're not, because this is how you fit in. So these people actually do listen to you when you tell them something alternative, and they kind of resonate to it. They'll listen to you, but they'll never themselves say anything about it, but they'll pay attention to what you're saying. That happens. But it's difficult to identify this because those that are totally hooked and totally subscribed into the indoctrination and the whole program, they are very passionate to defend their school, right? They're like, no. You don't tell us what is better than what we already know, okay? We have the best thing. The whole world should really will gradually convert to Islam, okay? That's how it's going to happen because we are the best thing in the universe. So when you have people like that, then, you know that, okay, all right, you find a way to deal with it. But the thing is, this is the reality, okay? So if I tell them some kind of Arcturian spiritual message, that I'm reading a book that has these Arcturian messages. So it's saying back maybe millions of years ago, the Earth plane, okay, or planet Earth was actually a thought form, and it wasn't manifest like physically as it is right now. I think you would concur, right? I think that it's possible that back in the day, Earth wasn't a physical planet, and it was a mental creation, because thoughts create reality, right? So it's possible that gradually the Earth soul Gaia lowered herself, sunk into lower frequencies, and eventually everything started to manifest. There are stories like this that ETs that are extra dimensionals who are from different universes or galaxies, they came to Earth out of curiosity, and they came in their crafts, their vehicles. And what happened is after a while, if they stuck around too long, their crafts would manifest in the physical reality. And that would make the whole thing dysfunctional for them, and they would get stuck on Earth, right? So I think there are stories, I've heard that there are stories like this. So that means, it's a changing reality. So what I'm trying to say is the Muslims, when they're saying, okay, our prophet, whatever he said, is the ultimate word of God. So you cannot tell me that, okay, we reincarnate. We have, different lifetimes after lifetimes. If I die now, I'll be born as a different person on a different planet, or maybe back on Earth. But we keep repeating physical lives because this is one way to experience different realities for a spirit that we are. And we're most likely, this is what I resonate with, is that we're indestructible spirit beings without any physical manifestation. So we're energy beings. And so we have like this powers of manifestation. And what happens is a part of our spirit may have been downloaded on Earth, and that's this physical me sitting here talking to you, okay? So I may have a higher self somewhere in the higher dimension, and I am the avatar. The word avatar is actually a Sanskrit word. It's actually pronounced something like avatar. So avatar comes from avataron, okay? So avataron is a Bangla or Sanskrit word for descent, D-E-S-E-N-T, right? Come down. So an avatar is somebody who came down here. Okay, so we are the avatars. So we have this soul thing that's sitting inside the vehicle of body, but the soul, when the body dies, the soul gets released, right, and goes possibly back to the origin, our higher self, or whatever it is. So if I tell them about this concept, and if you, for instance, for myself, when I realized that, hey, I don't die, it's just my body dies, right? I keep coming back, and I'm here by choice. I actually, decided which planet I'm going to be born in, which family I'm going to be born in, which country I'm going to be living in, all these things. There's a, a scratch script that I wrote, and I came down here to have these experiences. It's not written in stone. There is free will, and I can make different choices. However, when I came, I had a mission. I had a plan that I'm going to learn this. I'm going to do this, right? So this has to do with what I said when I came back and I was working. And then I felt like, no, I don't want to work in IT anymore. I have to do something else, right? So why did I do that? Because ever since, I don't make any money anymore because I'm not working, but I'm 100 times more happy. Every day, I don't go to vacations because every day is a vacation for me because I'm free. I wake up whenever I want, and I do what I wake up in the morning and I try to think that what do I want to do? What will I enjoy the most? And I do that. So, and that, I'm sorry, I'm kind of hogging the mic here, but, you get my point.
Go for it.
Okay, so it's like basically when I learned, I understood, I really felt that, really resonated with the fact that I'm not a mortal being. I'm actually having an experience here. So if that's the case, it's more like a game, okay? Nothing that happens to me here actually, is very dangerous. It's not. It's like a virtual reality. We come here so that we don't hurt ourselves because this is not real. So if that's the case, then hey, I might as well take it easy. And that's exactly what I did. And my life has completely changed and I'm a happy person. But this, it takes a lot of balls. People say, how do you do that? People tell me that, do you know a lot of people are jealous of your life, but they don't tell you. They tell you that you're stupid or whatever. You're wasting your life. You have no prospect, no ambition, nothing, you're wasting your life. People don't directly tell me this, but you can read into these things. But the thing is, at the same time, some of these people are telling me that, at least thinking about me, and you know what? I wish I could have this guy's life. And they should, really. That's how I feel. And that's what I want to tell people. You know what? Don't worry about anything. Look at me. I have spoken against Islam. I have spoken against Indian intelligence, CIA, FBI, the Illuminati, the Draco, the reptilian, everything. And I'm sitting here in Dhaka City, okay? I have no protection here. And I've been doing this for half a decade, 5, 6, 7 years. I'm alive. Nobody tried to kill me. So what's going on? Why are you so afraid? You know what I mean? Okay. That's it for now. Go ahead, Nancy.
I totally honor what you're saying. It's all, all I can say is yes, I absolutely agree with the concept that we are immortal beings and we are just energy forms. Now, you seem to indicate that there's a difference between fourth dimension and third dimension. It's only a matter of frequency.
Yeah.
Third dimension is a lower frequency than fourth dimension. Now, what I think is happening, that is sort of like providing an environment to nurture, let's say, enhanced abilities, because when you say psychic, it freaks people out. It's just enhanced abilities.
Okay.
Is the idea of the etheric. So you've got the dimensions, but the etheric is an energy field that is a blueprint for the body. We all have an etheric field. It's a blueprint for the body. This is scientifically been proven. Vibrational medicine, Dr. Gerber. There's an etheric that surrounds the planet. And I believe that the etheric and the 3D are getting closer in frequency, because people can go to the etheric and do shamanic journeying, do remote viewing, do lucid, well, not so much lucid dreaming, although it is there, but your healing is coming through the etheric. Everything is through the etheric. So I do believe that it's not a matter of going from the third to fourth, or that we're going into fourth dimension. I think that's a sort of a different situation, but I do believe that the etheric field it's like the thinning of the veil, you know. Listen, we're at the top of the hour, Neel, so let's take a break.
Wow. Okay.
Colleen, you got some tune you can put on for a couple minutes here?
I sure do. This is Come Together by the Beatles.
Okay, we'll be right back. Cool. Thank you.
And we are back.
And we are back with World Talk with Friends. This is coming from Haggy Shack Radio Productions, and you can go to haggyshack.com to see all of the shows and to learn more about the hosts. And on half the week is simulcast into Wolf Spirit, wolfspiritradio.com. And each of these sites are donation supported. So if you can give us just anything, it all goes for the upkeep of the station, not for the hosts or the producers or any of that. You can also have an access to a very, very impressive archive of shows, and that's on wolfspiritradio.com. You can get there by a $5 donation monthly, and you can access for the entire month. The next month they'll ask you if you want to go for again. So it's reoccurring. It's not just one of those things that they hit you with. This show is for a week after we show it. You can get it free. But then it goes into the membership archive. So we appreciate your support, and we just want you to really, if you don't have the money, no problem. Just listen, because what you're doing with the listening is you're impacting the collective consciousness, which is what our real goal is here. With us today is Neel Akash from Bangladesh, and producing is Colleen Kelly, and I'm Nancy Hopkins, and it is June 22nd. Neel, where are we going to go now, darling?
Okay. Hi, guys. I kind of thought about this show earlier when you re-invited me, and I'm like, okay, that's good. So I should plan it a little bit. So I kind of thought about certain topics to talk about, okay? Shall I give you one of my ideas?
Go for it.
even though you told me I'll be talking about exopolitics, but I sure can, but I kind of had a different idea because I was thinking, okay, like the stuff you talk about, Nancy, like the quantum physics you talked about in the last show with your shungites and all those things, that was like, way advanced. But the thing is, people over here are not used to hearing these things, right? So I wanted to kind of engage them by talking about this is a kind of a cliche subject, but I still want to talk about it because I don't think people really understand what happened with the 9/11 Twin Tower crash. Because, I kind of have a little bit of interesting information I think that maybe not a bad idea to share.
I've written a book called 9/11 Crusade. Do you know that? It's a fiction.
No, I haven't read it.
It's actually a fiction because I did the research and I went, people have got to understand this. So the way that, and it's the same problem that you're talking about, is that human beings can't even imagine some of this because they're human beings. They don't want to think of anything being that evil. So it's almost like I had to give them a fictional story with all the facts. I call it fictionalized fact because you give them the storyline and you as the writer can get into the mind of the evil person who you would think is an evil person to have planned all this. But when you look at that person, they're not thinking evil. And so there's all sorts of pragmatic things that happen in what we think is evil acts are not necessarily created by evil people. And that's the thing that I think is the biggest bulwark in getting people to even look at it rationally. So please give me what you know because I'm always learning more about it.
Right. A lot of people here, I believe, still think that Osama bin Laden had to do with it, but clearly, he might have been involved with some of the side projects, but I don't believe he actually did it. But basically, what I'm about to tell you, it comes from this interview with dark journalist and Joseph Farrell. Have you listened to this interview by any chance?
No, I have not. But Farrell is listen.
Okay, so Joseph Farrell is a UFO researcher, I believe, and dark journalist is quite interesting. So basically, Joseph's idea I found interesting was that he talks about three levels of conspiracy working with the Twin Tower crash, and his main point was if the cabal, the shadow government of the United States, really wanted to, take away the rights of American people, by putting fear into their psyche, all they had to do was just crash 2 small planes into the towers. And that's it. It would burn for maybe 8-10 hours. And then they fix the thing. And that's it. That's the terrorist attack that you needed to, convince the people of the world even that, there are terrorists and something has to be done about it, right? So why would they actually bring down those gigantic buildings all the way down, pulverize them, and using very advanced technology? That kind of seems like an overkill from this point of view. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. So what Joseph is saying, that there was actually this was a 3-tier operation. Tier 1 was the Mohammed Atta and those guys that were on the plane, the Muslims and whoever hired them or worked with them to set them up with, all the planes and all those things. The official storyline with the passports and all those things. That's tier 1. And tier 2 is people in the at least mid-level or higher up in the United States military, intelligence, and the government. They have to have, planned these things because without the help of insiders, you just cannot pull this off. In the security, the security of the United States, there has to be infiltration in there, and that's level 2, according to Joseph Farrell. So this is level 1 and level 2. And they planned the whole thing, all the drills. There were a whole bunch of drills that took place on the same day that kind of coincided with the actual crash of the towers. So what happened is...
Just to support you on this point,
Mm-hmm.
they had actually done a number of exercises involving the hijacking of airlines and crashing into buildings.
Right.
I don't have the facts in front of me, but I wrote about it. And
Right.
so it's something that they had actually thought about and planned. Long before it was enacted.
Right. So that's level 2. These guys are insiders, planning this whole thing. But what happened is they got over-trumped by a level 3, according to Joseph. He's saying that the level 2 guys who actually brought down they planned the psyops. Maybe it's possible that they didn't plan on crashing the towers, just pulverizing them. That was a surprise to these guys because there was another international, not global fascist Nazi cabal. Okay, and this Nazi is not German Nazi. This is American Nazi more like, because you know about the Project Paperclip thing after World War II. German scientists and many different people were moved over to the United States, right, through the Project Paperclip. And they were given jobs in NASA and in the military and research fields and all those things. So, excuse me. So essentially, people now think that maybe Germany didn't really lose the war and this everything was planned and they just went underground, okay? And they took over United States from the inside. So this kind of makes sense. Anyway, so tier 3, level 3 is basically an international fascist Nazi Nazi organization that has oversight, that actually has access to level 2 American intelligence military complex, okay? So they're another level higher, and they actually salted some of the evidence that people started going after eventually, because a lot of people never really believed the official story and it has lots of holes. So people went after level tier 2, and they found out that, okay, American government insiders are doing certain things. So basically, I don't want to get into all that stuff because he actually has lots of names and lots of details why he thinks that the level tier 2 was trumped by, and sort of they were surprised by, what level 3 did, which was using some kind of exotic weapon to crush the towers and some other things. So essentially, my point is, so when people realize that, okay, the government of United States is actually doing something to its own people. Because for Bangladesh people, going to America is like going to heaven. Okay, period. There's no ifs or buts about it. It's like, if I can go to America, that's it. My life is made, and I just hit the jackpot, and I hit the lottery, I'm gone. So that's the perception. And so now, all of a sudden, such a heavenly place, their government is doing something to hurt their own people. So this doesn't quite register with people, actually. So this is why I think most Bengalis still think that, Osama did it, Muslims did it. There's so many, like in my Facebook timeline for news feed, for instance, I used to see so many memes and, videos about who did 9/11. I got tired of it. Like, oh man, I don't want to see another one of these. But still, people from here, they're still talking about Osama bin Laden. So I'm trying to, because I will have people from here listening to this show. So I want to make this point that, look, if you wake up to the reality that American government has rogue elements inside it, and it's so rogue, it actually crashed the two most beautiful buildings of the country. Okay, so this is serious stuff. This is not like 5 men dead. This is like maybe 30,000 people died. So this is huge, and American government, President Bush, probably had something to do with it. He had knowledge of it, and this is common knowledge, right? So what does that tell you about the government of Bangladesh? What's happening here? What do you think? Because people still don't understand the concept of shadow government. And when I talk about the raw intelligence, Indian intelligence, which I talked about in the last show, and so this is actually news to people. People do know that, yeah, there are, intelligence agencies from different countries, China, Japan, America, Germany, UK. So this is common knowledge, but what exactly are they doing here is something completely opaque. Okay, people have no idea. So I'll give you an example of what happened last week. I think it was last week or the week before. Bangladesh government arrested maybe 16 to 20,000 people, and these are basically Islamic people who are members of the Islamic different groups. Some of these are political, some of them are not. So basically, if you do a search on Google, every single blog, every single news that you see has the same exact storyline that, Bangladesh government is cracking down on the Islamic terrorists because of the serial murder of 30 people over the past 3 months or 4 months, some such thing. Everybody has the same storyline. So I'm like, wait a minute, really? I mean, all these people were murdered by the Islamic terrorists, and so suddenly Bangladesh government feels so responsible. They're arresting all the, known usual suspects. And even though they didn't do anything, this is just on suspicion that they may have something to do with these terrorisms. And nobody really seen those dead bodies, just like Orlando psyops that happened the other day. It's so similar. Nobody saw the dead bodies. Everybody it's pretty obvious that these are psyops, CIA or whatever, and they're trying to pass the gun control laws. And, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out, what's happening. So they're trying to kill the Second Amendment, okay? So what's happening in Bangladesh? The government arrested 20,000 people. Even they didn't do anything. So what does that do to human rights? So I was expecting the United States to say something about it. Okay. I was hoping that, somebody from the United States would say that, hey, this is wrong. And actually I did find something from the Voice of America. They said, look, this is not right. You cannot arrest 10,000 people, 20,000 people, just like that. It's wrong. But it's very weak. Nobody is really standing up to anything. Again, I'm sorry, I'm again kind of hogging the mic, but what bothers me is that what's happening in Gaza Strip, in Palestine over the 1 year, or Syria. There's been bombing, and I see videos of people crying, their buildings all smashed up, children dying, injured. But it just goes on and on and on, and you get tired of sharing these things and saying, oh, look, they did it again. It's kind of pathetic. Okay, how many times I'm going to say, look, they bombed this place again? It's dumb, So you're like, wait a second, so what should I do instead? I'm sorry, Nancy, I'll take a break. Let me stop here.
No, you're absolutely correct. Let's go back to the 9/11 question.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to treat it like, for somebody that doesn't know anything about it except what they were told. Okay, so what you have two planes that flew into two different buildings. There was a fire that erupted in both buildings.
Right.
Supposedly, according to the National Safety Standards Association, which is the one, I believe that's the name of them, were the ones that were tasked with finding out why did the buildings collapse. They said the fire started, and the fires were so hot that they melted the trusses. Now, the trusses are actually metal beams that were under all of the floors, okay? But now I want you to stop and think for a second. I'm going to describe what they actually were structurally. The buildings were built as if it was two silos, okay, one inside the other. The middle silo had the elevators and most of the stairwells. So it was a very highly, it's a powerful structure. It was, these elevators. The outside silo was actually more like a facade and glass, and it was where the trusses were held on one side that then locked into the inner silo, and on each one of these trusses floors you had an acre of office space. All right? But what they really hit, when the planes hit the first silo, they were mostly hitting glass. All right? So that's why there was so much impact inside of the building. They just flew through the glass. All right? The planes were disintegrated when they hit the second silo. So you've got a plane now that's in an acre of space, and it's burning. Well, the fuel that's on the plane does not burn hot enough to melt trusses, to melt.
Absolutely.
Okay? There is not enough paper in the world that will burn to melt trusses. So right from the get-go, your basic foundation of how hot the fire is becomes critical. And the fire never could get hot enough in order to melt those trusses. But let's assume somehow or another the trusses melted, okay? Then you have a floor falling on another floor. And then the weight of those floors collapsing below that, and more weight, and boom, 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 all the way down. 110 stories these buildings were. Now, the first one, let's just go with the first one that fell, which was the second tower, hit the south tower, and it's hit at the 78th floor, okay? So it is burning, the trusses melt, and now it starts falling. Okay. The problem here is that the entire building, the roof of the building was on the ground in 8 seconds. That is free fall. I want you to tell your people when you talk to them, if you want to believe it, it's your option. However, if you can clap your hands 78 times in 10 seconds, I'll give you 2 extra seconds. If you can clap your hands 78 times in 10 seconds, I will maybe believe it. It's impossible.
Right.
It's impossible. And you're just clapping your hands, never mind. Oomba, oomba, oomba.
Yeah.
Wake up. All right?
Exactly.
And I have found that if I can get that into somebody's head, all of a sudden everything else disappears. There is no way to explain it by the building collapsing. The building was disintegrated, yes, by a direct energy wave. Now what that is that it's again, energy. It's frequency. They put up a frequency. You've seen stadiums collapsing because the people in the stadiums were, on the stadium, bang, 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 bang. And it sets up what's called a resonance, but it's one that works against the metal and the metal falls apart. And so you have people killed in stadiums because the metal collapsed because of vibration. Take it even further, and you've got a vibration that is actually affecting the molecular cohesion of the metal.
Right.
So the metal comes apart at the molecular level. Hold one. Frog in the throat. Okay, so now, if you've got a building that is being destroyed by vibration, that vibration has got to be tuned to a particular type of structure. In this case, metal. That's why when you look at the building, now just think back and think of the pictures of the buildings just after they had fallen, okay? There was about 4 stories of debris on top of the ground. 4 stories out of 110. Now there's 7 stories below them, but that's still 11 stories out of 110 stories. Where was the metal? They never found a door handle. They never found a metal door. They never found metal anywhere. They didn't find a filing cabinet. How many filing cabinets do you have in the 2 towers that have office space. No
Absolutely.
metal was found, but they found plastic up the Gahuza. They found paper up the Gahuza.
And paper, yeah.
So plastic and paper didn't burn, but
At all.
the metal disappeared. It was a
Yeah.
direct energy beam. And who was it that did it? Yes, you're absolutely correct. It's the Nazi faction that has existed on the planet since the 30s.
Right, right. And this is kind of important because there is another faction that we know of, which is the Rothschilds. Okay, if you read if you study the history of Rothschilds, you would see that they are the ones that, responsible for World War I, World War II, and most of the revolutions, the big revolutions that we know about. So they fomented these things. Okay, so this is an alternative cabal, the Fourth Reich Nazi that we're talking about here. So this is interesting because we need to know about these factions because they have infighting. It's not like our shadow government is just one monolithic entity and trying to control humanity. It's not like that. It's like there are factions vying for control, right? And I think this is kind of important to understand too.
Well, that's where it gets really kind of like daunting.
Yeah.
We were talking about this on Sunday. Is like, okay, or maybe it was Tuesday. Who is the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers in bed together? No.
Yeah. They kind of are actually. Did you know that Rockefeller is a creation of the Rothschilds? I just studied something the other day, but anyway, go ahead.
Well, but basically, I mean, they work together, but they're not in bed together.
Okay.
They work together to control. Now, you continually talk in terms of a shadow government. It's really a shadow corporation.
Right.
There's no governments out there. They're all corporations. And I've written extensively on this, as have many, many other people. All right? There is no United States Republic. There is no republic. It is a corporation. And to the point that they don't even hide it. Because the corporate, if you look at any document, you're going to see United States, okay? But all in capitals.
Right.
That's a corporation. The United States government, in quotes, is actually got a DUNS number, which means it's on the stock market. And every country has this thing. Okay, now so you got a DUNS number that when you look up the DUNS number, and I give it in the book, you find, oh my God, that says the United States government. The United States, it doesn't say corporation, it's the United States, okay? Alright, so.
Nancy, when you say DUNS number, is that a QSIP? Is it the same thing as a QSIP in stock exchange?
DUNS is, Duns and Bradstreet number. It's a number given to corporations that are on the, So, when you have that kind of corporation in control, they just look like they took over all the government agencies, but those are really offices of this corporation. And I can go and tell you when it happened, how it happened. How it's working. There's so much to prove that this is absolutely what it is. So when you're thinking government, really think corporations. And so when I say that they're not in bed together, it's the difference between the Rothschilds have always been just interested in the money.
Okay.
The Rockefellers are interested in control. They're the ones where you find the New World Order. It's the Rothschild faction. The Rothschilds would say, "Shut your mouth. We were doing so good." Okay, but they working in the same international banking system. They're all, they agreed to play that game that way. So they're all kind of locked into the Federal Reserve and the International Monetary Fund and the whole system of control from that standpoint. Now, the weird thing is that I know what we were doing. We were reading Ben Fulford's report, the last two. And in it, he was talking about the Rothschilds and Rockefellers. And he said, now, I'm going to be turning 68. I've been around in this game since I was 15 years old and they killed President Kennedy. Okay? I've been looking at a lot of things for a very, very long time. And somewhere way back when, I came across something that identified the true powers that be as being the black nobles or the black nobility. And so, I don't remember where I got it, but I use it in my book, Cosmic Reality. I actually use the word black nobility for this ultra evil group that's out there. Okay? Now,
is this the P2, Vatican P2
no.
faction?
It could be. I've looked at that very carefully, but the reality of it is that Ben Fulford started using the word black nobility and saying that the power behind the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds is the black nobility, which comes out of Spain and Italy. All right, the Medicis and a whole bunch of other families, you know. So it's like to try to explain to somebody, you know, who the bad guy. They're always asking, who's the bad guy? Well, it depends on which arena you're in.
Exactly.
Because there's all these different factions.
Gets really convoluted.
Very. So, you know, to try to explain that to somebody is like, oh my God, I'm not sure if I know even can start this, you know?
Right. Hey, Nancy, I don't know how much time we have. Can we talk a little bit about exopolitics?
Oh, absolutely. We got another half hour. Go for it.
Oh, cool. Okay. So basically, there's a whole lot to talk about, but I wanted to focus on the latest material that has come out through Dr. Michael Salla and Corey Goode and David Wilcock and William Tompkins. Have you heard about William Tompkins?
No.
Okay, he's the latest. I think there's another guy who came out even after him, and he's also ex-military, and he has similar stories to tell as Corey Goode.
Now his name is William Thompson?
No, William Tompkins, Tompkins, Tompkins.
Okay, thank you.
So, and he just published a book as well, which I haven't got it, but it's supposed to be really good. Anyway, and there are other whistleblowers who are yet to come out, and these people are still in hiding. But anyway, the important thing is, if you look at Corey Goode, David Wilcock, and also this other guy named Randy Kramer, Captain K. Are you familiar with this name?
Yes, I'm very familiar with Kramer.
Nancy?
Yeah, I said, yes, I know Kramer very well. I've studied him.
Okay. So, according to Kramer, he has something very interesting to say other than the fact that he worked on planet Mars for 17 years or something, or maybe 20 years, and then he was age regressed and brought back to Earth, which is a pretty fascinating story in itself. But what he says is that, look, I am on U.S. government payroll, okay? I think he's a sergeant major. He holds a rank in the United States military. So when you hold rank in the U.S. military, and if you go public with some kind of statement that, hey, you know, I did this, if it's a lie, then you would be under arrest because, you know, you're responsible for your word. So the point is, if Captain K, Randy Kramer, was lying about working on Mars in space, working with the secret space projects, then he would vanish from our reality. He'd be arrested and not allowed to speak again. But that never happened, right? So he's been talking about his experience for 3, 4, 5 years now. So what does that tell you? That there has to be some truth to it. But the funny thing is, I don't see people picking up on these stories, right? Corey Goode, he's saying that he's picked up from his home by a blue sphere, which that comes through the wall. He's just sitting on a sofa or something, or he stands, and this thing just picks him up, takes him through the walls, through the ceiling, and takes him somewhere else in a different planet or something, or a different galaxy. And he's saying this in public TV, and it's a paid channel, and you can listen to it. So even if he's lying, I mean, it could be a psyops, okay? I understand that people are very skeptic of all these things, and, it could be and even in the alternative media, people are very, very divided, right? There's actually an interesting battle going on between Alfred Weber and Randy Morgan, I think. He's a talk show host, I think. So basically they're trying to say there's a split between the awake and aware crowd that Corey Good and Randy Kramer, these guys talking about the secret space breakaway civilization, is just a lie. It's a whole bunch of lies. This is a CIA, PSYOPs. This is the next thing to fool people, trick people. So it's just a wild goose chase, and you don't get the truth out of it. But the thing is, even if it's so, even if it's just a false flag or PSYOPs, why don't we take the time and verify things and see if we catch them, lying? Because if you're making something up, you're bound to slip up at one point or another. You'd miss some detail, and you won't be able to. If I catch you off guard, you wouldn't know how to answer because you made something up. It's entirely possible. It depends on how the questions are asked. So I don't understand why people would be so divided and skeptical. And there is this one group of people, they think that, all ETs, Galactic Federation, and the Ascended Masters, and all those love light things, the hybrids, what else? What have you? Anything to do with ET. It's just negative. These people have been around forever. They never helped us out. If they wanted to help us out, they would have come down, said hello, look, we're here, we're going to help you out, we'll give you fantastic technology, blah, blah, blah. But that never happened, okay? So that means what? These people are evil, and they have agendas. Why do they abduct people to give a message of destruction that, hey, look, your planet is going to explode in the future, so better do something about it? Why do they do that? Why don't they just get on the radio or land on the White House lawn or something? So I think that's not very intelligent, okay? And number two, we are being helped, because when I look at people from Bangladesh, these people cannot change their reality. They just cannot, because they are disempowered. I have been talking to them for 5 years now. I know how they react, okay? They tell me, so what do we do? I tell them, you raise your own vibration. The only way you can change the world is by changing yourself. Okay, that's the only way. There's no other way. This is it. So, and they don't like it. I'm like, bad answer. When you find the answer, let me know. Okay? So they don't hear it. But the point is, so back to exopolitics, there's this division in the exopolitics community. A lot of people are saying all these ETs are bad. The ET agendas are bad. They're just bad guys they have all these wonderful spiritual messages to tell us, but the reality is they're out to get us. Okay, I understand that it's a possibility, but if you really, really take your time, you would see, like I was reading this book, I referenced it earlier, for instance, this Arcturian messages about Ascended Masters. Okay, if you read this book, you will see spiritual teachings which are not about anything to do with any agenda. These are like universal laws. It's like how frequency works, okay, how DNA works, how our thoughts create reality. So I think you may not believe that our thoughts create reality. You may not instantly believe it on face value. But there are research on this. Quantum physics has proven some of it. So if you take your time to really thoroughly delve into any one of these things, you find totally counter to what your intuition might have told you. Because most people operate from fear, okay? They have a negative attitude. You hear conspiracy theory. If you hear this term, conspiracy theory, you're like, wait a minute, I don't want to go there. Okay, conspiracy theory is for fools, idiots, and crazies, and people who don't have anything better to do. They just, they're losers, blah, blah, blah. Fact is, conspiracy theorists are actually slightly more intelligent than average people, in my opinion, okay? Because I have been following these people, and they're very, very smart, okay? I'm not talking about myself. I may be, a dumbass. Doesn't matter. I'm not the one who's saying these things. People who are saying these things about ETs, and they're helping us out, and we have this space breakaway civilization, okay? That those people are from Earth. They're using advanced technology of the ETs, reptilians or whoever, and they broke away from Earth, and they have a slave population over there on different planets. They're creating colonies, and there are people from Earth over there living as slaves. They have no rights. There's a strict military kind of hierarchy, and it's not very humanitarian kind of environment. So all these things are coming out, day after day, week after week. So how come I don't see anybody talk about it? What's going on? Why do people not talk about it? You may not believe it, but you could say that I don't believe it because this, and this. But you don't do that. You don't see it. You don't want to register that this is happening. People are talking about it. And these breakaway civilizations are real, man, because all these technology was developed by the CIA contractors, defense contractors, right? The Boeing, Skunk Works, Northrop. These are very advanced corporations, and they don't care about the government. They just there is no congressional oversight on these secret projects. There are black projects, there are deep black projects, and then there are USAPs, unacknowledged special access programs that, even the president has no knowledge of. He would never find out anything about an USAP, which Randy Kramer belonged to, okay? So all of these things are coming out. Then we have this William Tompkins guy. He's a very senior person. He's 94 or some years old. Why would he, in his advanced stage, come up with some kind of lie before, he's almost gone? So it doesn't make any sense. If you really use your common sense, then you could see that there's a lot of important things happening here, okay? And we do have ETs here. They are helping us out. This is my personal opinion. And I think the fight between the different factions of the awake and aware community is kind of silly, and a lot of people think that Corey Good is AI infested. He's some kind of dark agent that has a negative agenda that's trying to fool the people. And so we should not listen to these guys. They're just trying to trick us. But personally, I don't agree with it, honestly speaking. And I think people need to be united and kind of give people benefit of doubt instead of stepping into our ego that no, these guys are wrong and they're trying to, they don't know what they're talking about. They're just out to make money, write books, sell books, and that kind of stuff. I don't agree with that. Sorry, I keep getting into a tirade. Sorry, Nancy, go ahead.
Well, the first thing to the first explanation is if people say to you, well, if there's so many ETs and they've been there and they're good, why don't they, help us out here? Well, the reality is that there are rules and regulations, and one of those regulations is the Star Trek Prime Directive, do not interfere. Okay? So any good, all right, let's put good in, anybody who's living by the laws of the Galactic Federation, for one, you cannot interfere in a society unless you are asked. So right. that's the first thing, okay, is that somebody from representing the humanity has got to claim dominion over the planet, meaning that I'm taking responsibility for this planet, I'm asking for your help. Okay? Boom.
Right.
Permission granted. You'll have all the help you need. I know this because I did this. All right?
Correct. Right.
Now, when you talk about Randy Kramer, Randy impressed me not because of his story of being, and he wasn't abducted. He was trained. He said as a child he was trained. He'd wake up in the morning and he'd be all cut and bruised, and his parents even tried to take him to a doctor who then wanted to have him arrested on child abuse because he looked like he'd been beat up. And so after that they didn't do it. But when he was 18, he was given the option of joining the Space Fleet, the breakaway civilization. Now I talk about that as being the Star Trek universe. Everything that you see in Star Trek is right. It's exactly what it is. It's already here. We've been kept in the dark. Okay? So, he went 17 years, like you said, in Mars, but then he went another, 3 years being a pilot, like a jet pilot, only using spacecraft. And then when he thought he was going to retire and be brought back to Earth, as a 38-year-old man who would then be put into whatever kind of job and everything, he woke up in bed at 18 again. Because time is an illusion. It's all place and space. And so, everything is happening at the same time, and that's a difficult thing for people to get to. But back to Kramer's story. So Kramer says that one day he gets a message in his head, and the messenger was saying, do you recognize my voice? And Kramer said, yes, you're Colonel so-and-so. And what had happened is that this fascinates me because I've always had a lot of heartburn about Eisenhower and his great speech on his last speech warning the country of the, military industrial complex. And I'm going like, damn it, if you knew that, why didn't you do something? Well, he did do something. What he did was he set up a secret organization within the auspices of the Marine Corps. And that was given the mandate. It was given a mandate that if certain things occurred, they were to activate themselves and to go after the bad guys. Now, what do I mean by this? Eisenhower was very, very much aware that there was a corporation that was controlling the government. That it was not government controlled. It was not governed by the people. This was a corporation. Now, at the time, it's like, okay, well, maybe this is the better way to work. That you just let the corporate mind do its thing. But he was also very spooked by what he was seeing. So in setting up the Marine secret organization within the Marines, the mandate was that if I don't remember exactly the details, but if 73% of the rights given by the Constitution were no longer viable, they were no longer being, practiced within the United States, then this particular unit would become active. And they would try to tell the American people, to tell the military that they had been taken over by this evil corporation and blah, 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 and plus the ETs, because he knew the ETs and he knew that they could take over too. So Randy Kramer is coming from a position that is different than the others in that he says he was activated, that his memory was, they wiped his memory, but then they put an activation, like a sub-programming in it that would unlock when they needed it to by, the Manchurian Candidate kind of situation. Okay? So Randy wakes up and he goes, he hears this voice, and it was probably, something that the voice said to him before he even realized it, that all of a sudden, Boeing, oh my God, what's happening? And so he has clear recollection of the 20 years that he was in there. But he's also working for an active U.S. military organization that has been activated to let this information out in the hopes that humanity has done what we all believe, anybody that is, looking at the whole thing wants to believe is the truth. I'll put it, wants to believe is the truth. And that is that we had the breakaway civilization really did come from the Nazis to begin with. The Nazis had the UFO and the high tech. They'd already been to the moon before Hitler died. There was the ability to do interstellar kind of spacecraft. Okay, so this was all Nazi. It was all here before the war. And so people say, well, why didn't they use it to win the war? Well, to be honest, Hitler was a little crazy. They're Nazis. They're not, people who were supporting Hitler. They were Nazis. What is a Nazi?
Right.
Well, in democracy, you have everybody is for one person. In communism, it's one person is for everybody. But when you have Nazism, it's everybody for the state, or in this case, the corporation.
Right.
The individual is not important. What is important is the system, the corporation. That's Nazi. That's the Nazi mentality. Okay?
Nancy, can I just do you think the Nazi behavior has anything to do with the AI infestation?
I wouldn't doubt it, but as a matter of fact, I kind of hope for it, to be honest.
Okay.
Because you have to think of human beings capable of this.
Right. Doesn't make sense, really.
No, but it's quite conceivable that regardless, what I see happening is that this breakaway civilization, the space, just think of it as Star Trek, exists up there. No doubt about it. All right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, I can tell you that because I'm a remote viewer and I have been to Mars.
Oh, really?
I know what's on Mars. Don't tell me it doesn't exist.
Uh-huh.
I've seen it.
What did you see, Nancy? Real quick.
Well, exactly what Kramer's describing. But I mean, I was doing a specific mission, and it was a remote view, and I wasn't even considering whether or not the space thing was there. We were just trying to help Terra. Terra is the equivalent of Gaia. Terra had reached out to Walt Silva, who does shamanic journeying, so he's in the etheric, traveling the etheric, and he gets a message from this being that we identified as Terra, and she was like asking for the same kind of help that we had been providing Gaia. So we put in an etheric energy system to make the planet go again, to get it going. Because they can't that's the problem, is they really can't get this planet to grow.
Right.
And in doing that, I ended up inside a machine in a remote view.
Whoa.
Because one of the devices ended up in a machine, and I'm going like, where the hell am I? And then I backed away from it, and that's when I saw this massive, superstructure of buildings and things. I didn't go there to check it out, but that's how I found out, oh crap, they're really here.
Is that reptilian or Nazi?
They're all over the place. There's different factions.
Right.
There's reptilian factions. There's even factions from Mars that are indigenous.
Right.
Yes, the Nazis. It's all. it's not even the United States. It's the world. There's the estimate is 50 million people are disappearing on a yearly basis now. When I first, there was a million in the 60s or thereabouts. They thought it could be a million. They were working with more like 100,000 at that initial time. But they were going like, and it could be a million, but we don't even know, But it turns out now it's about 50 million. But why? Because they're repopulating. Some people say they're going and they're being slaves, and but they're being used to build this secret space society civilization. But the key here, Neel, is that think about Star Trek. Everything that manifests needs a thought, okay? And sometimes the fictitious thought is what starts the manifestation. So in this case, we've got Star Trek, all right? Now, Star Trek, if you remember, has this continual, in generations, not the original, but generations, they have this continual interacting with the Q continuum. You remember the Q continuum?
Yeah.
The Q continuum were considered semi-gods capable of all this magical stuff, okay? Time travel there. Well, while there was a breakaway civilization that we can call the Star Trek civilization, on the planet, the Q continuum is growing. We are the Q continuum. We are the ones who are emerging with godlike powers. Because it isn't godlike powers. Godlike powers are magical. What's magic? Magic is a manipulation of energy.
Right. Perfect.
We're almost out of showtime. We've got about 4 minutes. Is there anything else you'd like to, kind of say to your people? Let me just say this, that I have released the 9/11 Crusade, which is a fictional novel, been published back in 2010. You can now get the PDF of it on my website, cosmicreality.net. There's also a Facebook, and you just put in 9/11 Crusade, and you'll get the Facebook page, and that'll give you the linkage to the PDF. So people can read it for free, and maybe it'll get translated into Bangladesh, whatever you say there.
What's Neel's blog?
My blog is neobaul, that's NEOBAUL, blogspot.com. That's it.
You want to type it in the messaging so you can put it in chat?
I can't exactly do that right now.
Oh,
yes,
wait,
I'm
that's
sorry.
right. You're on the phone. That's right. I forgot about
Right.
that.
Is it NEOBOWL?
Yes. No, it's NEOBAUL. neobaul.blogspot.com.
I got it right now.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Yes, he has some very interesting writings there, and it's been an interesting show. We've certainly had gone around to a lot of different subjects. Any last kind of thing?
Can't think of anything right now, Nancy, except that thank you very much. I really appreciate the returning call, the returning invitation. That kind of made it real for me because, I was kind of thinking that, I don't know, have I been useful or not,
Oh, absolutely. That was one of the most amazing shows, the first one with you. I really appreciated that. And I do appreciate, because, Colleen and I started this and it was sort of like, well, let's just see if we can, because we have so many people from all over the world. Let's see if we can give a time frame where it'll be more conducive for the other side of the world to be talking to us. And I don't think that either of us really appreciated what that kind of connection can mean in the big scheme of things. In that I keep learning about my neighbors that I thought I knew them and I don't.
Yeah.
And so you guys to step up to the plate and to talk about where you are, your people, your culture, our neighbors. And
Absolutely.
in the end, we get into conversations like we're having today, and we're all saying the same thing. Maybe not everybody in the culture. Colleen?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the last interview with Neel is one of my most watched videos on YouTube.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that makes me happy. Thank you, Colleen.
Oh, you're welcome. I was like, wow. So I thought you might
I guess,
know that.
yeah, that's pretty good. I'm happy.
So we'll have you back. Think about what you want to do next time. Contact me. I'll contact you, but stay in touch.
Yeah.
There's always, if you're seeing something over there, even, in other parts of the world, but regional or not, just contact me and we'll get you on and we'll talk. And anybody who's hearing me, if you want to come on and you want to tell us about yourself and your neighborhood, please contact us. We might not let you on, but you can contact us. We've run into some crazies, I'll tell you. There is crazies out there, and you never know when you're being, having the wool pulled over your eyes because it's somebody that really just wants to create havoc. So we are a little careful that way. It is 3 p.m. our time. What time is it your time?
It's 1 a.m. Yeah. It's time. Time's up. Yeah.
10 hours. Been fun. Thank you so very much. Colleen, it's in your hands. Listeners, thank you so much. Those that are going to listen, be safe. Claim dominion over yourself. Claim dominion over the planet. And for God's sakes, remember, it's not sacrifice. It's not leaving anybody behind. And it's not survival. It's have fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Enjoy yourselves.
Yeah. Thanks again,
Thank
Neel.
you, guys.
Be safe.
Okay, take care.
Thank you for visiting. You have been listening to World Talk with Friends, a Haggy Shack radio production simulcast over the Wolf Spirit Media Network. Thank you for visiting.
Alrighty, I didn't mean to replay the outro, but I wanted to say that coming up next will be Haggy Reads for You, and I'll be reading Indiana Bigfoot, The Beautiful Minds by Edwina Kaito, and I'll finish it up today because it's not a really big book, but I really enjoyed it.